people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at Gervonta Davis' latest arrest, and the latest reason that the rematch with Lamont Roach may not happen, as he has been arrested for striking his ex-girlfriend, the same one from before. Reigning WBA lightweight butterball, Gervonta Davis' future plans could be put on hold following reports that the Tank has today been arrested for striking his ex-girlfriend. The incident is believed to have taken place on June 15th.
They just now arrested him?
As detailed in the report, police information states that Davis was in a previous relationship with the victim. Outlining the details to Local 10 News, digital executive producer Amanda Batchelor added, as of Friday morning, Davis was being held at the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center. His bond was listed in an online jail record as yet to be set. Back in the ring,
Not gonna be back there for a while.
Gervonta Davis, 30-0 with 1 draw and 28 KOs, was upgraded to full WBA World Email Champion.
How could the same guy keep getting arrested for the exact same thing, in some instances involving the same woman?
Because he's retarded.
Incapable of learning, incapable of growing and maturing. Gervonta Davis may be at or around 30, but he's got the impulse control of a small child.
Little.
And I don't even chalk it up to him being a boxer and being in a violent profession, because there are many boxers with no run-ins with the law.
How come I don't ever hear about Inui having run-ins with the law? Junto Nakatani.
How come?
Anthony Joshua. There are a lot of boxers that are model citizens. There are a lot of boxers that don't have anywhere near as many run-ins with the law as Gervonta, let alone for striking women.
So what the hell is his problem?
The Baltimore-born bruiser has made 2 defenses of his newly obtained world title, first sensationally halting Frank Martin before heading into a supposedly one-sided clash against WBA super featherweight champion Lamont Roach. Yet despite many expecting that Davis would comfortably dispose of Roach, it was the latter that left the Barclays Center feeling shortchanged, with the judges ruling a majority draw in an encounter that Roach believed he had edged. Consequently, the pair have been in talks for a much-anticipated rematch, with an announcement expected imminently. However, Fox Sports' Andy Slater has now reported that Davis has been arrested for hitting his ex-girlfriend on the back of the head and slapping her.
Does that count as a voluntary title defense?
So how could a boxer with no redeemable qualities inside or outside of the ring become as popular as a Gervonta Davis? Because inside of the ring, he seems to be a coward, and outside of it, he's an even bigger coward. How could anyone support this guy?
Coward.
Let's address the bit about popularity. Gervonta Davis's popularity, as it were, is very much a mirage, a byproduct of the digital era and what the internet can do. Because on the internet, if you mention Gervonta Davis, if you're a content creator and you make a video about him, a lot of people are going to watch it. They are going to flock to it. But those internet metrics don't necessarily translate into dollars in the real world. The reason for it is the only people that Gervonta Davis actually appeals to are ghetto trash, ghetto garbage,
Thieves.
shoplifters, bums. Not the kind of people that are going to pay for a pay-per-view, the kind of people that are going to stream it, the kind of people that are going to steal it. In the online world, you will notice that these are the folks that support Gervonta Davis, and that's why his pay-per-view buys have never been that robust. 200,000 here, just above or just below, that's where he plateaus. He only did real numbers once, and we all know why.
It was because of Ryan and all of Ryan's fans.
The rest of the time, it's 200,000 here, 200,000 there, just above or just below. Nothing
Nada.
substantial.
Addressing his would-be popularity, maybe he's popular online, but he's not that popular at the box office.
The only ones who quote-unquote support Gervonta can barely afford to support themselves.
Get out, trash.
And those are the only kind of people that are willing to look past his myriad of character flaws and myriad of domestic abuse cases. He really does have a thing for hitting women.
No impulse control.
No redeemable qualities. How does a fighter like this become as popular as a Gervonta Davis? Well, he's not actually that popular. And who he's popular with, they don't actually spend any money. So that sews that up.
Trash.
His future. Well, does he even have one? I mean, this seriously jeopardizes the Lamont Roach rematch that I'm not sure was going to happen anyway. But it also jeopardizes whatever he wanted to do with Jake Paul. Here you have Jake Paul trying to elevate women in boxing, and here you have Gervonta boxing women.
Equal rights and equal lefts.
Both doing their part for the cause, though I doubt Gervonta Davis has any justifiable cause for striking the same ex-girlfriend that he struck before. Wanted him to be a success story so bad for all the little boys and girls in the ghetto. Look at Gervonta. You can make it too.
That's why for so long, so many turned a blind eye to his myriad of not just character flaws outside of the ring, but his flaws inside of it as well. They really wanted to manufacture an idol, an icon.
They wanted so badly for him to be a success story. He's just a flash in the pan, folks, and after a few years, whatever money he made, it will be gone. He will end up another broke boxer.
Could tell the entire story of boxing, a whole history, without mentioning Gervonta Davis once.
Why would you? What are you going to talk about? His huge win over Big Rolo. Laboring with a nobody in Isaac Cruz, or needing a gift draw against a super featherweight in Lamont Cockroach?
It's pathetic.
You could tell the entire story of boxing without mentioning Gervonta Davis once, because he hasn't contributed much to it to begin with. So lock him up and throw away the key. Doesn't mean a damn thing to me.
Gervonta is the kind of man that was never taught to be a man and never will be, and what he represents is all those individuals like him.
The garbage. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Kostya, if you're listening to this, Tim Tszyu's honesty draws akin to take from Mark Boris! Australian Tim Tszyu has spoken up about how becoming a two-time world champion will continue his ongoing identity separation from Hall of Fame father Kostya, who he also outs as my biggest competition. Tszyu's revelations about the old man, who now lives in Moscow, have also elicited some honest takes from the Australian businessman Mark Boris in the latest episode of his Straight Talk podcast. While it has now been over 20 years since Kostya Tszyu last lit up Las Vegas, his eldest son knows comparisons will again be coming in his hyped showdown against WBC super welterweight champion Sebastian Fundora on July 20th, when the two meet for the second time. Should Tim Tszyu win the rematch of their bloody 2024 blockbuster, he will not only become a world champion for the second time, but set up a host of mouth-watering blockbusters with potential rivals including Jermell Charlo and Keith Thurman.
Well, that's who he was originally supposed to be fighting.
Yet speaking with Boris in a podcast released on Thursday, Tszyu also explained how a win over Fundora is also important for him, continuing to create his own identity as both a fighter and an Australian sporting star. The revelation came after the Soul Taker was initially asked about the horrific head cut suffered against Fundora in their initial fight, a split decision loss. Asked if he would have done things differently with his time over, and even withdrawn early so the bout could have been declared a draw, Tszyu replied, "No, because I was able to show who I am for the whole world to see."
The same thing I love about this Tim Tszyu kid is the same thing that sometimes works against him. He's stubborn. He's headstrong.
That's worth more to me. From there, the pair then went immediately into a discussion about identity. With the son of arguably Australia's greatest ever fighter continuing, you want to be able to create your own brand. Who you are, what you value, what you're on about. My dad is a whole different character. Me and him are complete opposites. So what people think about my dad should be completely different to what people think about me. So that's why I really want to create the Tim Tszyu story.
It's not often that the son is a spitting image of his father. Usually the sons actually favor their mothers. But with Tim and Kostya,
He's a spitting image of his old man. Oddly enough, he wishes to separate himself from him. Stand apart!
that's why I really want to create the Tim Tszyu story, not anyone else's, and there is still a lot more to work on. But we're on a good road.
So as for what motivates him most along said road, I've had to think about this, the fighter continued, and my biggest role model would probably be my dad, but he's also my biggest competition. No disrespect. But if I'm able to surpass him, we've created something for the Tszyu name to live on forever. That's the driving factor.
Tim Tszyu is not your atypical Nepo baby.
Cooling in the shade and the shadow of his more famous father, he wishes to put his father in his shadow. That's what sets him apart from a Julio Cesar Chavez, from a Chris Eubank Jr.
Can he do it?
I don't know. The junior middleweight division is a deep division. At which point, Boris asked if the pair have ever discussed this with one another. Nah, the fighter replied. In all honesty, I don't talk much to him. We don't really have much interaction. I can't even remember the last time I spoke to him. In all honesty, he's there, but at the same time, he's not always there. He's doing his thing. Living real low-key. I don't know if that's the way he wants to do it, but yeah, I respect it. Tszyu also explained his father was now well removed from the man who unified a division. Dad has gone from here, Tszyu says, lifting his arm up high, to completely mellowed. He's got 2 young kids now, and he's enjoying the moment of raising them because he wasn't really able to do it with us. That's his main priority in life, right now. Underneath it all, I think that Tim Tszyu resents his father for that.
For being involved and for being there for his 2 younger siblings than he was for Tim, than he was for Nikita.
How do you imagine that he interprets it? That he loves those 2 young sons perhaps more than he loved Tim, than he loved Nikita. At the same time, that shows growth in Kostya.
That he is not going to make the same mistake with his 2 younger sons that he's already made with Tim and Nikita.
He stays away from boxing, stays away from a lot of things. Tszyu's admissions also prompted some honest evaluations from the host in the Straight Talk podcast, which is available on KO Sports. Kostya, if you're listening to this, Boris said at one point, I actually understand that process. As a father, I was too interested in business. Didn't actually spend that much time with my own kids. I've got grandkids now, and I'm a much different grandfather to what I was as a father. In fact, I'm probably a better grandfather than I was a father. Better to my kids as well. But sometimes, you know, it just made me think when you said that about Kostya, you made me think maybe I should reach out to my son. As parents, we don't know the effect we have on our kids.
There is a thing that happens when a man grows up to be a man in the absence of the man that made him, and irrespective of what father figures may step in later to fulfill that role, if any even do.
There's a thing that happens to where that man that grows up to be a man in the absence of the man that made him doesn't need that man, doesn't want that man in his life.
You're too late.
When it comes to his impending showdown with Fundora, Tszyu also opened up on the weird punching style of his 6'6" rival and how Australia's reigning UFC featherweight king, Alexander Volkanovski, has also helped ready him for the bout. Asked if Fundora has heavy hands, Tszyu replied, from what I remember, not much. He's got these weird punches, lanky punches, but he does have these sneaky shots that can get you, and I remember feeling them. Later he continued, it's weird because he's got this style, but he's got these uppercuts, body shots, basically uses his front hand to find range, and sometimes uses the backhand to use at inside range. You've got to cop a few to land a few, but at the same time, he's very good on the inside as well. Sneaky shots. So you want to stay at a certain range where you're comfortable and he's not comfortable. Tszyu said he has also spoken at length with good mate Volkanovski, who only recently went and reclaimed the UFC featherweight gold. Asked by Boris who his hero is, Tszyu replied, yeah, good question. I don't know actually. In all honesty, Volk is a big inspiration. We chat here and there. In terms of how I'm living, there aren't many people in the industry, I'd say, that I look up to except Volk. After spending his past 2 title camps preparing in the United States, Tszyu is also based out of Sydney for this one, the same as Volkanovski has also done throughout his title reigns. I actually spoke to Alex, who told me about his experiences. He said, he's been doing it a lot, flying to America for fights, so I went on his word. How has he experienced it and then guided my way? For me, just coming to Vegas for the fight, getting in and out, what my dad used to do, what Volkanovski does, that's what I'm doing for this fight.
In and out.
Tim Tszyu didn't know what he was getting into working with the PBC. That's my take. He got lost in the bright lights of Vegas, and working with the Americans, he felt like he had arrived and that they had taken an interest in him in doing so, not realizing they were just using him.
So now it seems like they're going back to doing things the old way. He's been training in Sydney. They flew out Mikhail Fox, who's been servicing as a sparring partner for Tim. That's good sparring. Good guy to mimic Sebastian Fundora's lanky build.
In case you haven't realized, the rematch between Tim and Sebastian is next Saturday. It crept up on us. There is a part of me that has a rooting interest in a Tim Tszyu win, a Tim Tszyu victory. I feel like alphabet titles, world titles, are better in the hands of Tim Tszyu's than Sebastian Fundora's, who like to waste time and be strategic.
I would rather Tim have that belt than Sebastian Fundora, and I don't often have a rooting interest in fighters because I'm a realist. No matter how much you like a guy, it just is what it is.
Can be a good character, a good ambassador for the sport, and a chip off the old block, but the fighter is what the fighter is, whether you like them or not. Though when it comes to Tim, I have a rooting interest in a victory because I think it would be better for the division and better for the sport. If Tim has a world title, then if Sebastian has a world title. Sebastian beating Tim did not do for Sebastian in America what Tim Tszyu already built in Australia. He already developed into a box office draw out there. You can't say that about Sebastian.
If Tim Tszyu can get his redemption, that's obviously a step in the right direction and better for the profile of the junior middleweight division and better for the profile of the sport.
I think Tim Tszyu is a hell of a lot more interested in making the very best fights possible than Sebastian, than Samson Lukowicz. I think that Tim is more interested in unifying titles than Sebastian and his team. That's why I want him to win. Now, I think he can.
That's irrespective of a rooting interest. The circumstances of the rematch are different because this time it's not a late replacement. Sebastian's not a short notice opponent. Tim Tszyu knows exactly who he's fighting and he's had a full camp to prepare.
So it's not just rooting for the guy. He legitimately stands a chance. He was able to do a lot of damage in spite of that bloody gash over his head impairing his vision. And unless there's another freak accident and Sebastian lands another one of those.
That is, unless Tim comes flying at his elbow like he did before.
Tim Tszyu stands a chance. There is another caveat. The trauma, the demons from the Sebastian Fundora fight, yes, but also the demons from the Bakram Murtazalia fight. Is Tim fully rehabilitated? Is he really recovered?
It was a horrific year last year.
He's back in the winner's bracket after forcing a stoppage of Joey Spencer, but was that enough to rebuild him and get his confidence back?
Really is only one way to find out.